My daughter sent me an email 3 days before her wedding. One sentence. You're uninvited. Watch the live stream. I'm Linda McAllister, CEO of CloudSync Technologies. I built this company from nothing in 1998 when Silicon Valley didn't want black women in boardrooms. I also built my daughter's entire lifestyle, her Stanford education, her Mercedes, her $75,000 wedding that I was paying for, but apparently I wasn't good enough to attend it. Jasmine decided her tech mogul mother was too embarrassing for her future in-laws. Old San Francisco money versus new Silicon Valley success. They wanted sophistication. I represented complications. Here's what Jasmine forgot when she hit send on that email. When you build a tech empire in Silicon Valley, you don't just make money. You make connections. You become part of an ecosystem where every business relationship matters. And sometimes, that ecosystem includes every single vendor your ungrateful daughter just hired for her dream wedding. I want you to subscribe to this channel because stories like this matter, real consequences for real disrespect. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I guarantee every parent watching understands exactly how this feels. This is what happened when my daughter learned the difference between funding a wedding and earning an invitation. And why sometimes the most loving thing a mother can do is teach her child that actions have consequences, starting with one phone call that changed everything. Let me show you exactly what 9 years of being an ATM looks like. After Richard and I divorced in 2015, I made a promise. Jasmine would never feel the financial strain of our failed marriage. That promise cost me $815,000. I have every receipt. Stanford tuition, $102,000. Room and board, $71,000. Her Mercedes C-Class, $89,000, plus $1,350 a month in payments I still cover. Mission District Loft, $4,800 monthly rent, paid automatically from my account for 3 years running. Then there were the extras. Spring break in Cabo, $8,500. Summer in Europe, $16,000. Her laptop died during finals. $3,200 MacBook Pro, delivered same day. Wardrobe for her internship at her father's PR firm, $13,000 at Nordstrom, because image matters in this business, Mom. I kept detailed records. Not because I'm obsessive, but because I'm a businesswoman. Every expense, every transfer, every gift documented in spreadsheets that would make an accountant weep. What I didn't document was the gradual shift in how she spoke to me. Thanks, Mom became, can you Venmo me? Which became, I need money transferred by tomorrow. The pleases disappeared first. Then the explanations. Finally, even basic courtesy. Last Christmas, I flew to San Francisco to take her to dinner. She showed up 45 minutes late, spent 30 minutes on her phone, then asked if I could cover her friend's meal too. When I mentioned feeling ignored, she said, Mom, you're being dramatic. This is just how my generation communicates. But it wasn't generational, it was personal. She'd learned to see me as a resource, not a relationship. The pattern became crystal clear during her engagement party last January. Cameron's family, old San Francisco money, the kind that whispers about new tech wealth, treated me like hired help. Victoria Whitfield, Cameron's mother, actually asked if I was the event planner when I walked into their Pacific Heights mansion. Jasmine stood right there, said nothing. Let me introduce myself, I'd said, while Victoria looked confused about why the help was shaking her hand. I'm Jasmine's mother, Linda McAllister. I'm CEO of CloudSync Technologies. Oh, Victoria's smile had frozen. How interesting. And what does CloudSync do? We develop cloud-based enterprise solutions. 280 employees. Series C funding closed at $45 million last year. I see. She'd looked at Jasmine. Darling, you never mentioned your mother was in technology. It never came up, Jasmine had said quickly. Mom's very busy with work. Very busy. As if building a company that employed hundreds of people was an embarrassing hobby. As if being a black woman who'd clawed her way to the top of Silicon Valley's white male tech world wasn't refined enough for the Whitfields. The wedding planning revealed the true hierarchy. Richard and Victoria handled everything. Guest list, venue selection, menu tasting. I was informed of decisions, not included in making them. My role was clear. Sign checks, stay quiet, smile on command. 3 weeks ago, I tried to discuss the rehearsal dinner speech I'd been preparing. Jasmine looked genuinely confused. "Oh, Mom, we decided Dad is doing the mother of the bride speech. He has more experience with these events. You understand, right?" I understood perfectly. Richard McAllister, who'd spent our marriage building his consulting practice while I raised Jasmine and built my company, who divorced me because my ambition threatened him, had more experience than the woman who'd sacrificed everything. That night I called my assistant, Dorothy. "Pull together everything we've spent on Jasmine since the divorce." Everything. The number shocked even me. $815,437. Nearly $1 million spent on someone who decided I was too embarrassing to speak at her wedding. But here's what Jasmine didn't know about her unsophisticated mother. When you build a tech company in Silicon Valley as a black woman in the late 90s, you don't just make money. You make connections. You build relationships. You become part of an ecosystem where favors and partnerships interweave like code. And sometimes, just sometimes, that ecosystem includes every vendor your daughter hired for her dream wedding. The email arrived Thursday, April 18th, at 3:15 p.m. I was in a board meeting when my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Jasmine. I excused myself and stepped into the hallway. "Mom, change of plans. Cameron's family feels the wedding should be more intimate. You're uninvited. We'll send you the Livestream link. Thanks for understanding." 52 words. That's all it took to reduce 26 years of motherhood to a Livestream viewing party for one, a wedding I was paying for. I read the email again, then again. No phone call, no conversation, just a corporate-style notification that I'd been terminated from my own daughter's wedding. I stood in that hallway for 10 minutes, staring at my phone. Employees passed by, noticed my face, kept walking. Dorothy found me there. "Miss McAllister, the board is waiting." I showed her the email. Dorothy has been with me for 11 years. She's watched Jasmine grow up through photos on my desk and parent-teacher conferences I'd call into from business trips. She's seen every report card, every graduation photo, every proud mother moment I've shared. That little. She caught herself. "Miss McAllister, this is unacceptable. What are my options here, Dorothy? You could cut off funding and look like the vindictive ex-wife. Show up anyway and cause a scene. Send a nice card and pretend this is normal. Those are all terrible options. Miss McAllister, may I suggest a different question? What message does accepting this send?" She was right. If I did nothing, if I smiled and watched from my computer while Richard gave my speech and Victoria played happy family with her new daughter-in-law, what was I teaching Jasmine about consequences? More importantly, what was I teaching myself about self-respect? I went back to the boardroom, finished the meeting on autopilot. Afterward, I pulled up the wedding contracts in my office. $75,000 in vendor agreements, all signed by CloudSync Technologies as guarantor. The venue deposit alone was $14,000. Catering minimum $33,000 for 185 guests. Photography package $7,500. Floral arrangements $11,000. Every contract bore my signature. Every payment came from my accounts. Every vendor relationship existed because of my business connections. Dorothy, what would happen if I simply stopped paying? Legally, you'd be within your rights. These are all revocable contracts with standard cancellation clauses. Morally? She paused. Miss McAllister, at what point does generosity become enabling? That was the question that kept me awake that night. When does supporting your child cross the line into teaching them that actions don't have consequences? I thought about my own mother, a school cafeteria worker who'd raised 3 children alone. She never had the luxury of throwing money at problems. Every dollar was earned. Every opportunity had a cost. Money amplifies character, she'd told me when I started CloudSync. It doesn't create it. I'd spent 9 years trying to amplify Jasmine's character with $815,000. Instead, I'd created someone who thought her mother was too embarrassing to attend her own wedding. At 2 a.m., I made my decision. I pulled up my contacts, started with the venue. Silverado Resort and Spa in Napa Valley. I'd stayed there 6 times for tech conferences. I knew the general manager personally. Linda, it's 2 a.m. Is everything okay? Patricia, I need to cancel the McAllister-Whitfield wedding, Sunday, April 21st. Silence. Linda, that's in 3 days. We have 185 guests confirmed. The deposit alone. I know. I'm the guarantor. What's the cancellation policy? For events this close, we typically retain the full deposit and charge 50% of remaining costs. But Linda, this is your daughter's wedding. I'm aware. Process the cancellation. Bill CloudSync directly. Linda, are you sure? This will cause significant disruption. I'm very sure. And Patricia, I'd appreciate your discretion. I made the same call to the caterer, the photographer, the florist, the DJ, the makeup artist. One by one, I dismantled Jasmine's dream wedding. Each vendor tried to talk me out of it. Each one eventually agreed. Because in Silicon Valley, relationships matter more than single events, and I'd been building relationships since before most of these vendors opened their businesses. The photographer, Miguel Santos, was the hardest call. Miss McAllister, I've photographed 8 weddings for CloudSync employees. You've referred me to dozens of clients. But this is your daughter. Are you certain? Miguel, did Jasmine tell you I'm not invited to the wedding? Long pause. She mentioned something about a small family ceremony. I'm her mother. I'm paying for everything. And I'm uninvited. Does that seem right to you? No, ma'am. It doesn't. Then you understand why I'm making this call. By 4 a.m., it was done. 185 guests would arrive at Silverado Resort on Sunday to find empty gardens and a brief note explaining that the wedding had been canceled due to unforeseen circumstances. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my office watching the sun rise over San Francisco Bay, thinking about Jasmine, about the little girl who used to wait by the window for me to come home from work, about the teenager who'd stopped asking me to attend her school plays because I always had meetings, about the young woman who'd learned that her mother's love came with a price tag. Dorothy arrived at 7 a.m. and found me still at my desk. You did it. I did it. How do you feel? Like I just made the biggest mistake of my life. Or the bravest decision. I can't tell which. Miss McAllister, may I say something? Of course. I've worked for you for 11 years. I've watched you build this company. I've watched you sacrifice everything for success. Your marriage, your time with Jasmine, your health. And I've watched you try to buy back what you lost with money. But love doesn't work that way. Neither does respect. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe Jasmine learned to see you as an ATM because that's how you taught her to see you. After the divorce, every conversation became about money. Every problem solved with a check. You replaced presence with presence, Miss McAllister. And now you're surprised she values your money more than your attendance. The words stung because they were true. After Richard left, after the divorce papers were signed, and Jasmine chose to live with him primarily, I'd thrown myself even harder into CloudSync. Series B funding, product launches, expansion into international markets, and every milestone I missed in Jasmine's life, I tried to compensate with money. Missed her 16th birthday dinner because of a board meeting, send her a $5,000 shopping spree. Couldn't make her high school graduation because of a conference in Tokyo, buy her the Mercedes she'd been wanting, didn't help her move into her Stanford dorm because of investor meetings, pay for 3 years of rent in the Mission District. I'd been buying her forgiveness for 9 years. And she'd learned to accept payment instead of presents. You're right, I said quietly, but it's too late to change that now. The wedding is canceled. Dorothy looked at me for a long moment. Is it though? You still have 3 days. 3 days to what? Undo everything? Show up anyway and cause a scene? 3 days to call your daughter and have an actual conversation. 3 days to ask why she really sent that email. 3 days to be her mother instead of her bank account. Call her? Dorothy, she uninvited me from her wedding via email. What am I supposed to say? The truth. That you're hurt. That you're angry. That you've spent 9 years trying to buy back the time you lost and it hasn't worked. That you miss your daughter. She doesn't want to hear that. How do you know? When was the last time you told her anything real? Anything that wasn't about money or business or keeping up appearances? I couldn't remember. Every conversation for years had been transactional. Can you transfer money? Did you see the bill? I need help with rent. Our relationship had become a series of financial transactions with occasional small talk in between. I'll think about it, I said. But I didn't call. Instead, I went home to my empty penthouse in Soma. 4,000 square feet of marble and glass overlooking the bay. $3.2 million. 6 bedrooms for 1 person. I'd bought it 3 years ago as an investment. A showcase. Proof that I'd made it. Jasmine had visited once, walked through the rooms and said, "It's very nice, Mom. Very impressive." Then she'd left after 20 minutes because she had dinner plans with Cameron's family. I poured myself a glass of wine and opened my laptop. Started going through old photos. Jasmine at 5, gap-toothed smile, holding up a drawing she'd made at school. Me in a business suit, phone to my ear, barely looking at the camera. Jasmine at 10, soccer uniform, holding a trophy. I wasn't in that photo. I'd been at a product launch in Austin. Jasmine at 13, middle school graduation, Richard on one side, his new girlfriend on the other, me nowhere to be found. I'd been in Seattle closing Series B funding. I'd sent her a congratulations text and $1,000. She'd replied with thanks. The pattern was clear. Every important moment in her life, I'd been somewhere else. Building CloudSync, chasing investors, proving to the world that a black woman from Oakland could make it in Silicon Valley, and I had made it 280 employees, $45 million in funding, partnerships with Fortune 500 companies, but I'd lost my daughter in the process. My phone rang. Richard. Linda, what the hell did you do? I exercised my right to cancel contracts I'm paying for. You canceled Jasmine's wedding. Do you understand what you've done? She's devastated. She's been crying for hours. Good. Maybe she'll understand how it feels to be dismissed via email. This isn't about you, Linda. This is about Jasmine's happiness. Really? Because it seems to me that Jasmine's happiness was perfectly fine when she was spending my money. It only became about her happiness when I stopped providing it. You're being vindictive. I'm being consistent. No respect, no support. It's a simple principle. Linda, I'm begging you, undo this, call the vendors, reinstate everything. I'll pay you back every penny. Just don't destroy our daughter's wedding. Our daughter. As if he'd been there. As if he'd sacrificed anything. Richard, where were you when Jasmine had her first period and called me crying from school? Oh wait, I know where I was. In a board meeting. Where were you? Playing golf with clients. Where were you when she got accepted to Stanford? On a business trip. Who paid her tuition? I did. Who paid for her apartment? I did. Who paid for this wedding? I did. So, don't call me and talk about our daughter like we've been equal partners in raising her. You're right. You paid for everything. But you weren't there, Linda. You were never there. I was the one who helped her with homework. I was the one who drove her to soccer practice. I was the one who held her when she cried about her mom being too busy for her. So yes, you paid, but I was present, and she knows the difference. The words hit like a physical blow because they were true. Richard had been there, not because he was a better parent, but because his consulting business allowed flexibility, because he didn't have to prove anything to anyone, because he wasn't carrying the weight of being one of the only Black women CEOs in Silicon Valley. If you were so present, why is she marrying into a family that treats people like me as hired help? Why didn't you teach her to value substance over status? I tried, but you taught her that money equals love, that every problem can be solved with a check, that presence doesn't matter as long as the bank account is full. She learned that from you, Linda, not from me. After he hung up, I sat in the dark for an hour. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my mother. Linda? Baby, it's 11 p.m. What's wrong? Mama, I think I made a mistake. A big one. I told her everything, the email, the cancellation, the $815,000, the wedding that wouldn't happen because I destroyed it to prove a point. My mother listened quietly. When I finished, she was silent for a long moment. Baby, let me ask you something. Why did you really cancel that wedding? Because Jasmine disrespected me. Because she treated me like I was embarrassing. Because after everything I've given her, she couldn't even invite me to her own wedding. That's what you tell yourself. But I'm asking what's really true. What do you mean? I mean, are you punishing Jasmine for not respecting you? Or are you punishing yourself for not being the mother you wanted to be? The question knocked the air out of my lungs. I worked hard, Mama. I built something. I proved that we could make it in their world. I know you did, baby. And I'm proud of you. But building a company isn't the same as building a relationship. You can't acquire a daughter like you acquire a business. You can't fund your way into her heart. I was trying to give her everything I didn't have. You gave her everything except yourself. And now you're angry that she learned to value the money more than the person giving it. So this is my fault? Jasmine uninviting me is my fault? I didn't say that. But Linda, you canceled her wedding. You didn't call her. You didn't ask why she sent that email. You didn't try to understand. You just went nuclear. And baby, that tells me this isn't really about Jasmine disrespecting you. This is about you finally facing what you've been running from for 9 years. Which is that you chose CloudSync over your daughter. And no amount of money will ever make that right. I hung up and sat in the dark, my mother's words echoing. She was right. I'd been running. From the guilt of missing Jasmine's childhood, from the pain of the divorce, from the reality that building an empire meant sacrificing everything else. And when Jasmine sent that email, when she reduced me to a Livestream viewer, she'd forced me to face what I'd been avoiding, that I'd become exactly what I was afraid of. Absent. Distant. More interested in proving my worth to the world than being present for my child. The wedding cancellation wasn't about teaching Jasmine a lesson. It was about me trying to force her to acknowledge my value. To see me. To need me. Even if I had to destroy everything to make it happen. Friday morning, 2 days before the wedding that would never happen. I woke up at 5 a.m. after 3 hours of restless sleep. My phone had 38 missed calls, 79 text messages. I ignored them all. At 7:30 a.m., Dorothy called. Miss McAllister, you need to come to the office. Now. What's wrong? Just come. Please. I arrived at CloudSync at 8:15. Dorothy was waiting in my office with two other people, James Chen, our CFO, and Marcus Okoye, our head of legal. "Linda, we need to talk about the wedding cancellation," James said. "It's a personal matter. It doesn't concern the company." "Actually, it does," Marcus said. "You signed those contracts as CloudSync CEO. You used company relationships and company credit to secure those vendors. And now several of them are threatening legal action." "For what?" "I exercised standard cancellation clauses. For breach of contract, for reputational damage, for losses incurred from canceling an event 3 days out. Linda, the photographer alone, is threatening to sue for $15,000. The caterer is talking about $40,000 in food costs they can't recoup. The venue wants the full $75,000. I felt my stomach drop. That's not possible. The contracts have cancellation clauses, with notice periods. 7 days minimum for most vendors. You canceled with 72 hours notice. That puts you outside the protection of those clauses. How much are we talking about total?" Marcus looked at his notes. "If all vendors proceed with litigation, we're looking at approximately $180,000 in exposure, plus legal fees, plus the reputational damage of a CEO who destroyed her daughter's wedding. The board is concerned," James added quietly. "Our Series D funding round is in 6 weeks. Investors are already nervous about the market. This kind of publicity, a CEO making erratic personal decisions using company resources, it doesn't inspire confidence. It's my personal life. You made it company business when you used CloudSync as the guarantor. Linda, I'm your friend. I've supported you through everything. But this looks unstable. It looks like someone who can't separate personal emotions from business decisions, and that scares investors." Dorothy, who'd been silent until now, spoke up. "Miss McAllister, there's something else. Social media." She showed me her phone. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. The story had spread. One of the wedding guests, furious about the cancellation, had posted the whole story online. It had been shared thousands of times. Tech CEO cancels daughter's wedding 3 days out over personal grudge. Black woman entrepreneur destroys daughter's big day in petty revenge plot. Silicon Valley mogul proves money can't buy class. The comments were brutal. Some supported me. Most didn't. But what hurt most were the ones from other black women in tech. "This is why they don't take us seriously. We finally get a seat at the table and we act like this? She's making it harder for all of us. Every black woman CEO will be judged by her actions now. Representation matters. She just set us back 10 years with this petty nonsense." I handed the phone back to Dorothy. "How bad is it?" "It's trending in tech circles." Forbes reached out for comment. "TechCrunch wants an interview. Your Wikipedia page has already been edited to include the wedding cancellation." "Miss McAllister," Marcus said carefully, "we need to discuss damage control. I recommend you issue a statement. Apologize. Blame it on a misunderstanding. Reinstate the wedding. Do whatever it takes to make this go away before it impacts the Series D." "You want me to apologize? For setting boundaries with my own daughter?" "I want you to consider that your personal boundaries are about to cost this company $180,000 in legal fees and potentially millions in lost funding. That 280 employees depend on CloudSync for their livelihoods. That your actions have consequences beyond your relationship with Jasmine." He was right. I'd been so focused on teaching Jasmine a lesson that I hadn't considered the collateral damage. The company I'd built, the employees who depended on me, the investors who'd trusted me with their money. How long do I have to fix this? The wedding is Sunday. If you reinstate everything by end of business today, we might be able to contain it. Spin it as a temporary family misunderstanding that's been resolved. But if those guests show up on Sunday to an empty venue, if this becomes a full-blown scandal, we're looking at serious damage. After they left, Dorothy sat down across from me. Miss McAllister, I need to tell you something, and you're not going to like it. What now? I've been thinking about this all night, about what you're doing and why, and I think I need to resign. The words hit me like a punch. What? Dorothy, you've been with me for 11 years. I know. And for 11 years, I've watched you be an incredible businesswoman. Brilliant. Strategic. Visionary. But Linda, what you're doing to Jasmine, it's not strategic. It's cruel. And I can't be part of it. You told me yesterday that Jasmine needed to learn consequences. I did. But I've been thinking about that conversation. About how quickly I supported your decision to cancel the wedding. And I realized something. I was enabling you. Just like you've been enabling Jasmine. We both do it differently, but we both do it. I don't understand. You enable Jasmine by giving her money instead of presents. I enable you by supporting every decision you make, even when they're wrong. I've been your assistant so long that I forgot how to tell you the truth. That canceling your daughter's wedding isn't about consequences. It's about control. It's about forcing her to acknowledge you. And that's not love, Linda. That's manipulation. So you're abandoning me too. No. I'm refusing to help you destroy your relationship with your daughter. There's a difference. Dorothy stood up. I'll stay through the Series D. Help transition a replacement. But after that, I'm done. I can't watch you weaponize your generosity anymore. I can't be part of teaching you that power and control are the same as love. She walked out, and for the second time in 24 hours, I was alone with the consequences of my decisions. My phone rang. Jasmine. I stared at it for 10 rings before answering. Mom, her voice was thick, like she'd been crying for hours. Mom, please. I'm begging you. Please undo this. I'll do anything. I'll apologize. I'll invite you to everything. I'll give a speech about you at the reception. Whatever you want. Just please don't destroy my wedding. This was what I'd wanted, wasn't it? Jasmine begging. Jasmine acknowledging my power. Jasmine finally seeing me. So why did it feel so hollow? Jasmine, I need to ask you something. And I need you to be honest. Anything. I'll tell you anything. Why did you send that email? The real reason. Silence. Long, heavy silence. Mom, the truth, Jasmine. Because Victoria said if you came to the wedding, half of Cameron's family wouldn't attend. Because they think you're too flashy, too nouveau rich, too much. And Cameron said it was my choice. But I could see how much it mattered to his parents. And I wanted them to accept me. I wanted to fit in with them. And I thought maybe you'd understand. That you'd know what it's like to have to choose. So you chose them over me. I chose not making waves. I chose the path of least resistance. I chose wrong, Mom. I know that now. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But as she spoke, I realized something. Jasmine hadn't just chosen Cameron's family over me. She'd chosen the same thing I'd chosen 26 years ago when she was born. The same thing I'd chosen every time I missed a birthday or a play or a graduation. She'd chosen what looked good over what was real, status over substance, acceptance over authenticity. And she'd learned it from me. Jasmine, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you years ago. Mom, can we talk about this after? After you reinstate the wedding? Please, I'm running out of time. No, we're talking about it now. Because this conversation is 9 years overdue. I heard her take a shaky breath. Okay, the divorce. Your father and I. Do you know why we really split up? Because you wanted different things. That's what you both said. That's the polite version. The truth is, I chose my career over our marriage, over you. I missed your 10th birthday party because I was in a board meeting. Your father begged me to reschedule. I said no. That was the day he told me he wanted a divorce. Mom, I don't understand what this has to do with. Everything. It has to do with everything. Jasmine, I spent your entire childhood building CloudSync. I told myself I was doing it for us, for our future, to prove that women like me belonged in Silicon Valley. But the truth is, I was doing it for myself, to prove I was good enough, smart enough, worthy enough. You are those things. Maybe, but I proved it by sacrificing you, and then, after the divorce, I tried to buy back what I'd lost. Every missed moment, every absence, every time I chose work over you, I tried to compensate with money. Stanford tuition, the Mercedes, the apartment. All of it was guilt, Jasmine. Not generosity, guilt. Mom, where is this going? I'm trying to explain why I canceled your wedding. I told myself it was about respect, about teaching you consequences, about showing you that you can't treat people like ATMs. But the truth is, I canceled it because I'm terrified. Of what? That you're making the same mistake I made. That you're choosing what looks good over what's real. That you're sacrificing yourself to fit into someone else's world. And I can't watch you do that, Jasmine. I can't watch you become me. She was quiet for a long moment. Cameron's family makes me feel small. Like I'm not good enough. Like I have to apologize for who I am and where I come from. But I love him, Mom. And I thought if I could just get through the wedding, if I could just prove myself to them, it would get easier. It won't. It never does. I spent 26 years trying to prove myself in a world that didn't want me. And you know what I learned? The people who make you feel like you need to prove yourself aren't your people. They'll never accept you, Jasmine. Not really. Because acceptance isn't what they're offering. Tolerance is, and tolerance isn't love. But you made it. You succeeded. Did I? Look at my life, Jasmine. I'm 61 years old. I have a company, money, a penthouse I live in alone. But I don't have a partner. I don't have close friends. I barely have a relationship with you. I won, but I lost everything that matters. Is that what you want for yourself? No. Then why are you marrying into a family that treats your mother like hired help? Why are you apologizing for who you are? Why are you uninviting the woman who gave you life because she's too embarrassing for their country club standards? Because I don't know how to be anything else. You taught me that success means fitting in. That money means acceptance. That if I just achieve enough, accomplish enough, buy the right things, and live in the right neighborhood, and marry the right person, I'll finally be enough. And I'm exhausted, Mom. I'm so tired of trying to be enough for everyone. Her words broke something open in me, because she was right. I had taught her that, not with words, but with actions. Every missed recital I compensated for with a gift. Every absent moment I covered with cash. Every time I chose CloudSync over her, I taught her that her worth was conditional, that love was transactional, that being enough meant achieving more. Jasmine, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. For all of it. For not being there. For trying to buy your love instead of earning it. For teaching you that success matters more than happiness. For every single time I chose my ego over your needs. Mom, don't. Please don't do this right now. I have to. Because I need you to understand something. The wedding cancellation, it wasn't about punishing you. It was about me finally seeing clearly. About recognizing that I created this situation. That your materialism, your need for status, your willingness to sacrifice yourself for acceptance, all of it came from me. I can't punish you for learning the lessons I taught. So what are you saying? You're going to reinstate the wedding? I looked out my office window at the San Francisco skyline, at the city I'd conquered, At the empire I'd built while my daughter learned to value things over people. I'm saying I need to talk to Cameron. What? Why? Because if he's the man you should marry, he'll understand what I'm about to say. And if he's not, you'll know before you make a mistake you can't undo. Mom, please don't. Please don't ruin this. Jasmine, if it can be ruined by one honest conversation, it's already ruined. Give me his number. She hesitated. Then she did. I called Cameron 10 minutes later. He answered on the second ring. Miss McAllister. Cameron, we need to talk. In person. Today. I don't think that's a good idea. My parents are very upset about the wedding situation. I'm not asking your parents. I'm asking you. Man to man. Or rather, mother to future son-in-law. 1 hour. Coffee. You choose the place. Miss McAllister, what is this about? It's about whether you love my daughter enough to fight for her. Or if you're just another person she's trying to prove herself to. 1 hour, Cameron. If you care about Jasmine, you'll show up. He agreed to meet me at a cafe in Pacific Heights. Neutral territory, close to his parents' house. I arrived 10 minutes early and waited. Cameron walked in exactly on time. 28 years old. Stanford MBA. Old money haircut. Old money watch. Old money everything. He sat down across from me. Thank you for coming. Jasmine said you want to talk about the wedding. Not exactly. I want to talk about what happened at your engagement party. When your mother asked if I was the event planner. That was a misunderstanding. Was it? Or was it exactly what it looked like? Your mother assuming that the black woman in the room must be the help? Cameron shifted uncomfortably. My mother, she's from a different generation. She didn't mean. Yes, she did. Let's not pretend. Your mother looked at me and saw someone who doesn't belong in her world. And you know what's interesting, Cameron? Jasmine stood right there and said nothing. Didn't correct her, didn't defend me. Just let your mother treat me like staff. Tell me, is that the woman you want to marry? Someone who won't stand up for the people she loves? That's not fair, isn't it? Let me ask you something. When your parents said they didn't want me at the wedding, what did you say? He didn't answer. Let me guess. You said it was Jasmine's decision. You said you'd support whatever she chose. You took the easy way out and let her be the bad guy. Am I right? It's complicated, Miss McAllister. No, Cameron. It's actually very simple. You either love my daughter enough to stand up to your parents, or you don't. You either think she's worth fighting for, or you think she's someone who needs to earn her place in your world. So which is it? Cameron looked at his coffee cup. I love Jasmine. I do. But my family? They have expectations. Standards. And I'm caught between two worlds here. Caught between two worlds. Let me tell you something about being caught between worlds, Cameron. I've lived my entire adult life that way. Too black for Silicon Valley. Too successful for people who think women like me should know our place. Too ambitious for a husband who wanted a traditional wife. I know what it's like to not fit anywhere. And you know what I learned? What? That the people who make you choose between worlds aren't worth choosing. Because love, real love, doesn't make you split yourself in half. It doesn't ask you to be less so someone else can be comfortable. It fights for you. It stands up for you. It says to hell with expectations and standards and what people think. So I'll ask you again. Do you love my daughter enough to tell your parents that she matters more than their approval? He was quiet for a long moment. I told them I wanted you at the wedding. I did. But my mother said if you came, half the family wouldn't attend, that it would embarrass them in front of their friends. That people already talk about Cameron marrying a girl whose mother is in tech, like that's something shameful. And you let her say that. What was I supposed to do? Choose between my fiancé and my entire family? Between Jasmine and everything I've ever known? Yes, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. That's what marriage means, Cameron. Leaving your family and building a new one. Choosing your partner over comfort, over tradition, over what's easy. But Jasmine agreed to it. She's the one who sent you the email. Because you made her think she had to. Because you put her in a position where she had to choose between you and me. Between fitting into your world and honoring where she came from. And she chose wrong. But you know what? She learned that from me. I taught her that achievement matters more than authenticity, that acceptance is worth any price, even the price of yourself. Miss McAllister, what do you want from me? I want to know if you're going to spend the rest of your life making my daughter feel like she's not good enough. Like she has to apologize for who she is. Like she has to earn her place in your family. Because if that's the case, I'm doing her a favor by canceling this wedding. I'm saving her from 30 years of feeling small, of code switching and shrinking and performing for people who will never truly accept her. I'm not like my parents, aren't you? When your mother insulted me, you said nothing. When they demanded I be uninvited, you let Jasmine handle it. When you had a chance to stand up for the woman you love, you chose the easy way out. So forgive me if I think you're exactly like your parents. You just hide it better. Cameron's face flushed. You don't know me. You're right, I don't, but I know what I've seen, and what I've seen is a man who loves my daughter, but not enough to fight for her, not enough to risk his family's approval, not enough to choose her over his comfort, and Jasmine deserves better than that. She deserves someone who will walk through fire for her, someone who will tell his mother to shut up when she's being racist. Someone who will say my fiancé's mother is invited to our wedding, and if you have a problem with that, don't come. So you want me to choose between Jasmine and my family. I want you to choose between being a child and being a husband, between pleasing your parents and protecting your wife, between the life you inherited and the life you're building. And if you can't do that, if you can't put Jasmine first, then this wedding should stay canceled, because she'll spend the rest of her life competing with your mother for your loyalty. And she'll lose. Every single time. Cameron stood up. I need to think. You have until tomorrow. The wedding is Sunday. If you want it to happen, you need to prove to me that you're worth my daughter, that you'll protect her, that you'll choose her. Not just in the easy moments, but in the hard ones. When your mother makes a comment, when your family looks down on her, when being with her costs you something. And if I can't, then the wedding stays canceled. And Jasmine gets a chance to find someone who loves her enough to fight for her, someone who sees her worth without her having to prove it, someone better than both of us have been. He walked out without another word, and I sat there wondering if I'd just saved my daughter's life or destroyed it. My phone rang. Richard. Linda, what the hell are you doing? Cameron just called Jasmine. He's questioning everything. The wedding is in 2 days and you're blowing it up from the inside. Good. It needs to be blown up. This isn't your decision to make. Yes, Richard, it is. Because I'm her mother. And I'm finally doing what I should have done 9 years ago. I'm putting her first. Saturday morning. One day before the wedding that might or might not happen. I woke up to 15 missed calls from Jasmine. I didn't call back. Instead, I drove to Richard's house in Palo Alto. He answered the door looking exhausted. She's upstairs. She's been crying all night. I need to talk to her. Linda, I don't think that's a good idea. She's furious with you. She's heartbroken. Cameron called last night and said he needs time to think. The wedding is tomorrow, and we don't even know if it's happening. Good. She should be thinking too. About whether she wants to marry someone who needs to think about whether she's worth fighting for. Richard stepped aside and let me in. I walked upstairs to Jasmine's childhood bedroom, the room I'd paid for but barely visited, the room where she'd grown up while I was building an empire. I knocked. Jasmine, it's Mom. Can I come in? No. I opened the door anyway. She was sitting on her bed, still in pajamas, mascara streaked down her face. The wedding dress hung on the closet door. $8,000. I'd paid for it without even seeing it first. Just sent her my credit card and told her to get whatever she wanted. I said no. I know. But we're going to talk anyway. Because we've spent 9 years not talking. Not really. And it ends today. You've ruined everything. The wedding is tomorrow, and Cameron is questioning everything, and your stupid moral lesson has destroyed my life. Good. She stared at me. Good? Did you just say good? Yes. Because if one honest conversation with his potential mother-in-law makes Cameron question marrying you, then you shouldn't be marrying him. If telling him he needs to stand up to his parents ruins everything, then everything was already ruined. You don't understand. I understand better than you think. Jasmine, let me tell you what your life will look like if you marry Cameron without fixing this. You'll spend Thanksgiving dinners listening to Victoria make comments about your hair, your clothes, your career choices. You'll code switch so hard you'll forget who you really are. You'll have children who grow up thinking Grandma Linda is too embarrassing to invite to school events. You'll apologize for your existence for 30 years until you look in the mirror and don't recognize yourself. That won't happen. It's already happening. You uninvited me from your wedding because his family thinks I'm too much, too flashy, too nouveau rich, too black, Jasmine. Let's be honest. That's what this is really about. Your black mother doesn't fit into their white old money world. That's not fair, isn't it? When Victoria asked if I was the event planner, what did you think she meant? She saw a black woman and assumed I was staff. And you said nothing. You let her think it. Because correcting her would have been uncomfortable. Because standing up for me would have cost you something. Jasmine's face crumpled. I hate that I did that. I hate myself for it. But Mom, you don't understand what it's like. Being mixed. Never fitting anywhere. Too black for the white kids. Not black enough for the black kids. Always explaining myself. Always proving I belong. And Cameron's family, they made me feel like maybe I could finally just be. Like I could stop explaining and performing and proving. But you can't just be, can you? Because they don't accept you as you are. They accept a version of you that doesn't have a tech mogul mother who embarrasses them. They accept the Jasmine who fits into their world, not the real one. Maybe the real me isn't good enough. The words broke my heart because I knew where she'd learned that. From me. From watching me work myself to death, trying to prove I was good enough for Silicon Valley. From learning that love was conditional. That acceptance had to be earned. That being yourself was never enough. Baby, you are more than good enough. You always have been. And I'm sorry I made you think otherwise. I'm sorry I taught you that achievement matters more than authenticity. That fitting in matters more than standing out. That other people's approval matters more than your own self-respect. Then why did you spend my whole childhood working? Why was CloudSync always more important than me? Why did I have to make appointments with your assistant to see my own mother? There it was. The question I'd been avoiding for 9 years. Because I was scared. Scared that if I slowed down, if I stopped achieving, I'd disappear. That I'd just be another black woman who didn't matter, who didn't make a difference, who couldn't prove she belonged in rooms full of white men who didn't want her there. And I sacrificed you to prove I mattered, and I will regret that for the rest of my life. So what now? You've canceled my wedding. You've made Cameron question everything. You've forced me to face all of this. What am I supposed to do? You're supposed to decide who you want to be. The woman who shrinks herself to fit into someone else's world? Or the woman who builds her own world and invites only people who celebrate her into it? You're supposed to decide if Cameron is worth fighting for. If he's shown you that he'll fight for you. Jasmine wiped her eyes. What if I choose wrong? What if I call off the wedding and I lose him forever? What if I marry him and you're right about everything? Then you learn, you grow, you figure it out. But Jasmine, you can't make this decision because you're afraid of losing something. You have to make it because you're choosing what you want. Not what's comfortable. Not what looks good. What you actually want. I don't know what I want anymore. Yes, you do. You've always known. You're just scared to admit it, Because it might mean disappointing people. But baby, you can't live your life trying not to disappoint people. That's not living. That's performing. My phone buzzed. Dorothy? I ignored it. It buzzed again. Then again. Answer it, Jasmine said. It might be important. I looked at the screen. 3 texts from Dorothy. Cameron is at the office. He wants to talk to you. Says it's urgent. Victoria Whitfield just called. She's threatening legal action over the wedding cancellation. Linda, the board called an emergency meeting. Monday morning. They want to discuss your judgment. I'm sorry. I showed Jasmine the texts. Mom, what does this mean? The board meeting? It means the wedding cancellation is costing more than I thought. It means I might lose CloudSync over this. It means I made a choice. You over everything else. And I'm facing the consequences. You could lose your company? Mom, no. No. Call Cameron. Reinstate the wedding. Fix this. I'm not worth losing everything you've built. Yes, you are. Jasmine, you are worth more than CloudSync, more than the board, more than every dollar I've ever made. And it took me 26 years to figure that out. But I know it now. You are worth fighting for. Even if it costs me everything. She started crying again, but this time I held her. For the first time in years, I just held my daughter and let her cry. I'm scared, Mom. I know. So am I. What if I make the wrong choice? Then you make a different choice later. But Jasmine, you can't marry Cameron because you're afraid of being alone. You can't marry him because you've already spent $75,000 and invited 185 guests. You can't marry him because his family has the right last name. You have to marry him because you can't imagine your life without him. Because he makes you better. Because he fights for you. Has he? Fought for me? I don't know. That's what we're about to find out. We drove to CloudSync together. Cameron was waiting in the lobby. He stood up when he saw us. Miss McAllister. Jasmine. Cameron, I said. You wanted to talk. I did. I need to tell you both something. He looked at Jasmine. I called my parents this morning. I told them the wedding is back on, that your mother is invited, that she's sitting in the front row, that she's giving a speech, and that if they have a problem with any of that, they don't have to come. Jasmine's breath caught. What did they say? My mother hung up on me. My father said I was making a mistake, that I was choosing wrong, that I was embarrassing the family. And what did you say? I asked. I said that Jasmine is my family now, that her mother is my family, that if they can't respect the woman I love, then they're not invited to watch me marry her. And then I hung up. Cameron, Jasmine whispered. I should have done it months ago. I should have done it at the engagement party when my mother insulted your mom. I should have done it when they asked you to uninvite her. I was a coward. I chose comfort over courage, and your mother was right to call me out on it. He turned to me. Miss McAllister, I'm sorry for not standing up to my parents, for putting Jasmine in an impossible position, for making her choose between her family and mine. I was wrong, and I'm asking you, if you're willing, to reinstate the wedding, not because I deserve it, but because Jasmine does, because she deserves to marry someone who will fight for her. And I'm ready to be that person. I looked at my daughter, at the hope in her eyes, at the fear, at the love. Jasmine, what do you want? I want to marry him. But Mom, I want you there. Not just there. I want you to walk me down the aisle. I want you to give a speech. I want everyone to know that you're my mother and I'm proud of you. No more hiding, no more apologizing, no more shrinking. Are you sure? Because Cameron's family might not come. Half your guest list might boycott. People will talk. It might be the scandal of the season. Good. Let them talk. Let them boycott. I don't care anymore. I'm done trying to fit into worlds that don't want me. I'm done apologizing for where I came from. I'm done being ashamed of the woman who sacrificed everything to give me opportunities. Mom, I'm sorry. for the email, for uninviting you, for every time I made you feel like you weren't enough. You are enough. You've always been enough. I pulled out my phone, called Patricia at Silverado Resort. Patricia, it's Linda. I know this is insane, but is there any way to reinstate the McAllister-Whitfield wedding? Tomorrow. I know the cancellation clause. I know the fees. I'll pay whatever it costs, triple if necessary, but my daughter is getting married, and I'm walking her down the aisle. Patricia laughed. Linda, you're going to give me a heart attack. But yes, we can do it. The venue is still blocked. Most vendors kept the day open hoping you'd change your mind. It'll cost you though. Rush fees, overtime, emergency service charges. We're looking at an additional $45,000 on top of the original $75,000. Done. Send me the contracts. I'll sign everything today. I spent the next 6 hours on the phone. Caterer, photographer, florist, DJ, makeup artist. One by one, I put Jasmine's wedding back together. Some vendors were gracious, others were coldly professional. All of them charged premium rates for the chaos I'd caused. By 8 p.m., it was done. The wedding was back on. 185 guests would receive emergency notifications. Jasmine McAllister would marry Cameron Whitfield at Silverado Resort at 4 p.m. on Sunday, April 21st, and her mother would walk her down the aisle. Sunday morning, I woke up at 6 a.m., put on the dress I'd bought months ago for a wedding I thought I'd be attending. Navy blue. Elegant. Appropriate for the mother of the bride who'd almost destroyed everything. I arrived at Silverado at noon. The venue was chaos, florists rushing to set up arrangements, caterers prepping food, the photographer testing lighting, everyone moving at double speed to pull off a wedding that had been canceled and reinstated within 72 hours. Patricia found me in the garden. Linda, I have to tell you, in 20 years of event management, I've never seen anything like this. The cancellation, the reinstatement, the drama. But I also have to tell you, what you did yesterday, choosing your daughter over everything else, that took courage. Or insanity. Sometimes they're the same thing. Jasmine arrived at 2 p.m. with Richard. She looked beautiful. The $8,000 dress, professional makeup, hair styled perfectly. But what struck me most was her face. She looked peaceful, like she'd finally stopped performing. Mom, she hugged me. Thank you, for all of it, for canceling the wedding, for forcing me to face everything, for making Cameron step up, for choosing me. Always, baby. I will always choose you. Richard pulled me aside. Linda, I need to say something. I was wrong. About a lot of things. I judged you for working so much. For missing Jasmine's childhood. For choosing your career over our marriage. But I never acknowledged my part. I could have supported you more. Could have helped you balance everything. Instead of making you choose. Could have taught Jasmine to be proud of her mother. Instead of ashamed. I'm sorry. We both made mistakes. We both chose wrong sometimes. But Richard, we raised a strong daughter. She's going to be okay. At 3:45 p.m., guests started arriving. I watched them file into the garden. Jasmine's friends from Stanford, Cameron's colleagues, Richard's family, and notably, conspicuously, only 3 people from the Whitfield family, Cameron's younger sister. His aunt, 1 cousin. Victoria and Jonathan Whitfield were not in attendance. Cameron stood at the altar looking nervous, but when the music started, when Jasmine appeared at the top of the aisle with me beside her, his face transformed. Pure love. Pure joy. Pure certainty. We walked slowly. Jasmine's hand trembled on my arm. You okay? I whispered. His parents aren't here. No. But he is. And he chose you. That's what matters. At the altar, the officiant asked, "Who gives this woman to be married?" "I do," I said, "her mother. Who loves her more than anything in this world, who is so proud of the woman she's become, who will always, always fight for her." I kissed Jasmine's cheek and sat down in the front row. Richard was crying. I was crying. Half the guests were crying. The ceremony was beautiful, simple, honest. When Cameron said his vows, he looked directly at Jasmine. "I promise to choose you, every day, in every situation. When it's easy and when it's hard, when it costs me nothing and when it costs me everything. I promise to stand up for you, to fight for you, to never make you shrink yourself to fit into someone else's world. I promise to build our world together. A world where you never have to apologize for who you are." Jasmine's vows were shorter. "I promise to be brave, to stand up for the people I love, to choose authenticity over acceptance, to never again mistake tolerance for love. And I promise to teach our children that family isn't about blood or status or fitting in. It's about showing up, fighting for each other, choosing courage over comfort." They kissed. Everyone applauded. And for the first time in 9 years, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I'd done something right. At the reception, I gave my speech. I talked about sacrifice, about mistakes, about learning that love isn't transactional. That presence matters more than presence. That building an empire means nothing if you lose your family in the process. "I canceled this wedding 3 days ago," I said, "and it was the best and worst decision I ever made. Best because it forced all of us to face the truth, to stop performing, to stop pretending, to choose what matters. Worst because I almost lost my daughter over pride and fear and decades of getting it wrong, but she gave me another chance, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life earning it. Not with money, with presence, with showing up, with choosing her." The guests applauded. Some wiped away tears. Cameron's sister came up to me afterward. "Miss McAllister, I'm Emily, Cameron's sister. I just want you to know what you did, standing up to my parents. It gave Cameron permission to do the same. Our family has needed that for years. Someone brave enough to say no, thank you." At 9 p.m., as the reception wound down, Dorothy approached me. "Miss McAllister, I need to tell you something. You're still resigning." "No, actually I'm not. What you did, choosing Jasmine over the board, over CloudSync, over everything you've built, that showed me something. You're finally learning, and I want to be there to see what you do next." Monday morning, I walked into the emergency board meeting. James Chen and the other board members looked grim. "Linda, we need to discuss the wedding situation." "I know, and I have something to say first. This weekend, I made a choice that cost this company money, that damaged our reputation, that showed poor judgment, but I would make that choice again. Because I finally figured out what matters, and it's not funding rounds or stock prices or what investors think. It's family, it's showing up. It's being the person you want to be, not the person you think you should be." "Linda," James said quietly, "we're not here to fire you. We're here to tell you that the Series D closed, fully subscribed. Investors said your willingness to prioritize your daughter over optics showed character, showed humanity, showed that you're not just a CEO, you're a person, and that matters." I stared at him. "The funding closed?" "Friday, before the wedding drama even resolved. Investors loved it, said it made you real, relatable, human. Tech CEO shows vulnerability, chooses family, fights for daughter. It's good press, Linda. Really good press." I started laughing, couldn't stop. I'd been prepared to lose everything. Instead, I'd gained it all. 6 months later, Jasmine called. "Mom, I'm pregnant." "Oh my God, baby, congratulations." "Mom, I need to ask you something. Will you be there? Not just for the birth, but for everything. The doctor's appointments, the late-night calls, the moments when I'm terrified I'm doing it all wrong. Will you show up? Yes, I will show up. Every time, I promise. And I did. Because I finally learned what my mother tried to teach me 40 years ago, that money amplifies character. That success means nothing if you lose yourself. That the only empire worth building is the one made of love and presence and showing up. I'm Linda McAllister. I'm 61 years old. I almost destroyed my daughter's wedding to teach her a lesson, but in the end, she taught me one. That being right doesn't matter if you're alone. That winning means nothing if you lose what matters. That sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit you were wrong and choose love anyway. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. Because whether you're a parent who's made mistakes or a child learning to forgive them, remember this. It's never too late to choose differently, to show up, to fight for the people you love, even when it costs you everything. Especially then. That is Linda's story. Now I want to hear from you. Where are you watching this from? What city? What country? Drop it in the comments below. I love seeing our global community come together over these powerful family stories. Real question, if you were Linda, what would you have done? Would you have canceled the wedding immediately after that email? Would you have tried to talk to Jasmine first? Or would you have just accepted being uninvited and watched from the live stream? Tell me in the comments. Hit that like button if this story made you feel something. Share it if you know someone who's ever felt unappreciated by their own family. Someone who worked their whole life to provide for their children only to be treated like an ATM. Someone who sacrificed everything and got an email saying they weren't good enough. Someone who had to destroy something to save it. And subscribe for more raw, real stories about family betrayal, the cost of success, redemption that has to be earned, and what happens when parents finally stop enabling and start demanding respect. See you in the next video.